Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium, although I am no angel. I am no angel, really. But today we are going to talk about angels, and we're going to talk about earth angels. And this is a really important subject that my spirit guides really wanted me to cover today. So here we go. You don't have to be religious to believe in angels. You do not have to be of any religion to believe or to get the help of angels. By virtue of being human, you come with a starter pack of angels. So you have angelic help around you all the time, right? So I've talked to you guys about being a star seed. I've talked to you about past lives. I've talked to you about soul contracts. I've talked to you about your spirit guides. Now we're going to talk about angels. Now, this is really important right now because we're going into a time of our existence on Earth where the angelic realm is going to be more involved with humans. So that is one reason why this is important. It's also important because they want us to feel and to experience and to give compassion. So let's get started. I don't even know what to tell you about what an angel is. I mean, right? There's many different angels. There's many different angels with different purposes. But let's talk about your angels. Let's talk about the angels that would be around you. Let's talk about your starter pack of angels. So what do they do? How are they involved in your life? How do they show up in your life? How can you ask for their assistance, right? So first of all, I want to talk about, well, I don't want to talk about this. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to talk about this. They're making me talk about this. And I'm trying to do a better job of being compliant. So here's the thing, guys. I'll give you some examples from my own life. And I know without a doubt, my viewers are the best. They're the best commenters. You guys have had the most amazing experiences. Please take a moment, put your own experience with angels in the comments. It really helps all of us to see the vast differences of experiences that we've all had. It really, really can help someone, and you just never know who or when. So thank you for sharing. Okay, it all started about 2 weeks ago. No, let's just say recently. It started recently. And I'm going to tell you guys, when things are happening in your life and you see patterns, pay attention. So now when something happens and it's random, it's maybe not a big deal. If you're finding white feathers outside, then maybe once in a while I would take that and I would say thank you and have some gratitude. This is a sign. This is angelic energy around you. This is a sign. This is like hey, we're with you. We never forget about you. We're always with you. We're walking next to you. Okay. If you find a white feather in your house, which has happened, and you don't have any reason for a white feather to be in your house, then that's a really extra special sign. And I would encourage you truly to take some sort of book, some kind of notebook, or perhaps on your phone, wherever you can keep notes, and write these things down. Because when you find the weird feather outside and you write it down, it doesn't really make any sense, right? I mean, it's like, okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm in gratitude. Thanks for supporting me. But then 3 weeks later, when you find a white feather in your house and you don't have any down-filled pillows and you don't have any white birds that you're keeping, then how did that get in your house, right? So you write that down. And what happens is, over the course of some time, perhaps a month, you're going to be able to then connect all the dots of these messages. So you might have a thought that's just kind of out of nowhere. You write that down. I don't know why I was thinking of this. You write it down. Maybe you hear a song on the radio and the lyrics get stuck in your head. That's a sign. Write it down. Write all this stuff down. I promise you, you will be surprised when you look back at all of those things that you've written down over some period of time, that they actually tell a story. that there's actually real guidance from your angels, from your spirit guides, and even from your crossed over relatives, all right there in black and white that you wrote down. I promise you, it happens. I've seen it happen too many times with myself, with my clients, and with my students. So let's talk about patterns. What happened for me was, where I live, of course, where a lot of us live, there's homeless people or people that are experiencing homelessness. Now, where I lived for a long time was in Galveston, Texas, which is a small town on an island off the coast of Texas. And there's a medical teaching hospital there. And it's also the end of the road, right? I mean, you can't go any further. The road ends at the island. So there have been historically a lot of transient people experiencing homeless on the island. I had a photography business in the downtown area of the island for 16 years. And of course, that's where a lot of homeless people would stay. And the island is a very, there's no freezing temperatures typically. So it's a place that you can honestly live outside all year round. And I'm prefacing this by telling you, I have a lot of experience dealing with homeless people. I have a lot of experience dealing with people that are off their meds. We knew the homeless people. We went to their funerals. We supported them. I mean, we knew these people. We knew when they were off their meds. Look, we've just got to intervene and get them some help. We knew when they were on their meds, maybe they just needed, a hot coffee and a meal. So I have a little bit of experience with homeless people. Now, fast forward to just recently. I'm not in that same place. I don't have the experience of seeing people experiencing homeless all the time these days. 4 times in the past month, which is a pattern, 4 times in the past month, I came across homeless people that were not mentally challenged, didn't have any kind of mental illness, that were either, maybe not all of them homeless, but they were all in some sort of peril. They all needed some kind of help. Now, of course, we all do this, don't we? We all help where we can. This is why I didn't want to talk about this, because I'm not anybody special. I'm just like the rest of you guys. If I can help somebody, I'm going to help somebody. It doesn't make me any different than anybody else. But apparently the spirit guides want me to talk about this because this is something important. I don't know. So here's what happened. The first thing that happened was, I was walking my dog. There's a person driving and their tire's flat and you can hear this, And I, because they were going like 1 mile an hour, I said, can I help you do something? And they just gave me this irritated look like, can you not see that I got a flat tire? And I'm like, I have AAA. I'd be happy to hang around and maybe help you out in some way. So they stop. And then I realized that their back tire was their spare tire. So they actually didn't have a spare. And actually, my plan wasn't going to work. So I decided to run around the corner and get a couple of cans of Fix-A-Flat so that the tire could at least be usable for some short period of time, at which point I learned that this person was homeless, sleeping in their car, and they were trying to get to the homeless shelter. And so, no harm, no foul, right? I mean, I had $7 cash on me. I gave them the $7. They assured me they had money coming into their account, but it wouldn't be there for a few days. They just needed to get to the homeless shelter. So I helped out. They went on their way. All was good. No problem. Now, the thing is, it becomes a pattern when 1 week later, and I think this speaks to our current situation in our humanity with the Trumpers, with the MAGA people. I think that's why they want me to talk about this, to be honest with you. 1 week later, I'm leaving this shopping center and I see this woman. I don't know, maybe she's in her late 20s. I don't know. She's got these 2 little girls that are bundled up like snowmen. This is Houston, folks. I mean, it was cold. It was probably 40 degrees and it was sprinkling. I mean, it was miserable, to be honest with you. And these kids, though, were just bundled up like, how you can't put your arms down. You gotta stand like this. And they were young. They were young children. And she was frantically waving to every car as we were queued up in the parking lot to turn onto the road. There was a light that had backed up. And so we were queued up all the way into the parking lot. And as the cars were going past her, they just kept going and nobody was stopping. And she was really, leaning in, like waving. And she didn't look homeless. She just looked like she needed help. So, of course, I pulled over. I said, hey, what's going on? What do you need? She said, I just need a ride. My babies, I didn't realize this, but there was a clinic, a pediatric clinic in that shopping center. And she said, we walked here 3 miles this morning. And I mean, that morning it was actually colder. It was probably 35 degrees. And she said, I just can't, my baby is sick and I can't walk 3 miles back. I'm just looking for a ride. So, I of course, I put her and these 2 babies, one was 3 and one was 6 in my car, and took off with them and took them home. Now, I had a talk with myself because this was probably something I should thought more about, because I didn't have a car seat. And now I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I'm pretty sure both of them should be in a car seat. Now, I was only going 3 miles, but that was inviting risk on my behalf, right? So I could have done something else. I could have sat in the parking lot, called her an Uber, paid for it, and sent her on her way. So that was also a lesson for me, right? Around, okay, you want to help, but you need to be a little bit more circumspect, right? And how you put yourself out there. Okay. That's the second thing in like basically 10 days. The next thing that happens is there's another homeless person that is sitting in the rain, pouring rain, just sitting there in the pouring rain. I always carry one of those big golf umbrellas in my car because this is Houston and it rains. I mean, when it rains here, it rains like buckets. And I just got out and went and ran over to the park and gave the guy the umbrella. I think I had like a couple of dollars on me, and I gave him that and left, right? So no big deal, right? I mean, I'm telling you, I'm not doing this to brag. I wouldn't be doing this video, except for that what I'm about to tell you next blew my mind. So, but the thing is, I'm starting to notice a pattern. I'm starting to notice a pattern here that is unmistakable. It's unmistakable. The next thing that happens, again, I'm leaving, I'm going down one of the main thoroughfares, and here's this woman walking with a grocery cart, and it's raining, and she has a little dog, a little terrier-like dog in the, cart, and some bags, and they looked like grocery bags. And she didn't look homeless to me, right? She looked like she was just trying to get somewhere. So I pulled over and I said, hey, do you need a ride? And she's like, oh my God, yes, I would love a ride. So she gets in my truck. We put the dog, who tried to bite me several times, in the truck, and we put our bags in the truck. And I said, where are you going? And she told me. I drove, as I'm driving her there, it was, again, this was about 5 miles. She told me that she was so thankful. And actually, she was a very friendly person. Again, she didn't look homeless to me, but she was crying. Tears were coming out down her face without her making a sound. Like she wasn't going to show that she was upset, but she was crying. And as we got to this house, she gave me the address of a house, and she says, it's this brick house. I said, okay, great. And it was in a part of town that, it wasn't look, this area that I live in is not a suburb. I mean, it's a little city that has some older houses, and it's kind of a mixed up kind of place where you have some expensive houses and some crack houses, and it's all kind of all wound together. So this house was okay, but I noticed the street was getting a lot of kind of weird activity, driving, stopping, picking things up, driving. And it was pretty obvious within the first even couple of minutes that I was there that this was a little bit of a sketchy street. And I said, well, can I help you with these bags? Do you need some help? And she said, no, I'm not going to the house. I'm going to the shed in the backyard. And I said, you're living in a shed? And she said, yeah. And I just got it. I mean, first of all, I get this shed. I was living under the bridge right there right where you got me. You picked me up. And I lived there all summer, but now it's just too cold. I mean, I was about to give up, and I got this person offered me their shed, and it's like, I'm having a miracle today. This is a miracle. And I thought, wow, you think it's a miracle to live in a shed? Now that night, as you know, Texas has been experiencing some really cold weather. So that night it was going to be probably right around freezing. And I said, well, do you have heat in your shed? Do you have a bed? I mean, what is it like? And she said, no, it's a shed. And I said, well, can you borrow some electricity if you had a heater? And she said, yes. The people that own the house said, yes, I could borrow their electricity. So I left. I said, hold on. I took her to my house, which, 10 minutes away. I left her out front in my, in the car, the truck, and I went in and I had an extra little heater. So I got her a heater. I got her one of those long extension cords. And I grabbed her some sweatshirts. I mean, she was smaller than me, but I figured, I went back to the car. I gave her the sweatshirt. She immediately put it on. You know how homeless people do? Like they put everything on that you give them. Like if you give them socks, they'll put them on their hands. I mean, whatever they have, they want to wear, and it was chilly, but it wasn't that cold. And she had kind of a real flimsy jacket on. So she put it on. It had a hoodie. And I drove her back to the shed. And then I thought, while we were driving, she was telling me about how she found the shed. So what happened was there's a church nearby and the church does feed people. I mean, anybody, it doesn't matter. You could be homeless, you could be wealthy, you could be a senior citizen. It doesn't matter. They feed you. They actually have hot dinner every day of the week, which I didn't really know about until a few weeks ago. So she said, yeah, I was going there to get dinner. And this guy asked me if I was homeless. And I said, yes. And he offered me a shed. She said, but I don't know because his wife and his kids aren't really very keen on me living there. I'm thinking, my God, what in the hell is wrong with us? What's wrong with our world, right? So when she was telling me this, she was mentioning that she was having to walk, as I said, it was 5 miles from where I picked her up to where she was living in the shed. Now, to get these various food, like this place only offered dinner on these days. And then there was this pantry and that pantry, but they were all probably 10 or 15 miles radius that she would have to walk. And on the weekends, nobody had any food. There was no food available on the weekends. And then she started pointing out to me, look where this bus stop is. Look how far away this bus stop is from the clinic. It was literally a half a mile from the clinic. And she was really educating me, So I said, you know what? You need a bike. And she said, yeah, I would love a bike. And I said, if you had a bike, you could jump on the bus and you could put the bike on the bus, or you could bike to these pantries, So I took her to Walmart and I bought her a bike. And here's where the angels come in. The angels appeared. Now, I would assume that a lot of you guys have been to Walmart. I'm a single person living alone. I don't have any reason to go to Walmart. I don't go to Walmart very often, maybe once a year, to be honest with you, but I've been enough to know what Walmart is like, right? And when we went into Walmart, we went to the bikes and she found a bike for $98 and all the rest of the bikes were over $200, double and more. And I don't know how she found it, but she found it. There it was, $98. I'm like, fine, let's get this bike. Let's go. So we had to get help to get the bike. That's where the angels come in. As I'm looking for help, which you know what it's like to find help in Walmart. You know this. We walk not 10 yards from where the bikes are. And here are these two people walking down the aisle. And when I tell you, I was a photographer for 22 years. I did commercial work. I know what models look like. These people look like models for a commercial for Walmart. Their vest was nice and neat. Their clothes were nice and neat. They were laughing and smiling at each other as they walked down the aisle. And here's the thing, guys. I promise you, they glowed. They glowed. Now, at the time, I was thinking, I just got to get this done. To be honest with you, I had 1 hour to get this bike, to get her back to this shed, and to get to this next appointment that I have. So I was really kind of a little bit, wanting to hurry up. And so I noticed it, but this is what happens. We notice things and then we put them on, we say, never mind, that didn't happen or whatever. So here they come to us and they say, sure, we would love to help you with the bike. And she said, I don't know anything about bikes. I work in cosmetics. Now, honestly, this Walmart is not a place that has a cosmetics counter. Do Walmarts have a cosmetics counter? Do people work in cosmetics in Walmart? I don't know. I'm just saying, I thought that's interesting. The guy said, I work in some other, I didn't understand where. And then they come and they help us with the bike. And they're so gentle and so, I'm telling you, they weren't human. I'm telling you, they weren't human. But I'm in a hurry and I'm thinking something is odd here, but I'm in a hurry. And the guy says, this bike is really too cheap. I don't want you to get to the checkout line and find out that it's $250. So I'm going to look it up for you to make sure that the price is correct. Are we in Walmart for real? And yeah, he has this little price checker right there on him. Looks it up. He says, oh my gosh, this bike is $98. This is a really good deal. And it's a really nice bike and it's a brand name. This is a good deal for you. I'm really glad you found it. Again, are we in Walmart? They bring the bike to us and they say, can we help you with anything else? I'm like, is the Twilight Zone music playing right now? Is anybody else hear the Twilight Zone playing? Because I hear it playing, but I'm in a hurry. No, thank you. I actually got her a bike helmet. We hooked her up with some, she has no refrigeration, of course. So she basically lives off Vienna sausages and tuna, things that don't require refrigeration. I went to those aisles, loaded her up with as many of those as she would let me to, got her back through the checkout. Everybody, we bought the bike. I took her back to the shed. She cried. I had to leave because I really was late, right? But what I want to share with you, why this is important is I'm telling you, those people were not human. I don't think they were. I think they came down to help us, to sort of anoint. All this to say that I think that these earth angels showed up in, of all places, Walmart, to help me really see that these acts of kindness from humans are also connected to angelic energy, that we can be earth angels for other people. And indeed, we can experience earth angels, angels that come down to earth for a fleeting amount of time to help us. And I would say to you that there have been so many reports of people especially in first responders, police, firemen, EMTs, that have experienced people showing up on the scene of a crash and saying, I'm clergy, I want to pray over this person, and then disappearing. There's a case that I will never forget where this woman was being cut out of the car by the jaws of life, and it was taking much longer than anybody thought it would for some reason. And the woman in the car kept asking for them to pray over her, to pray with her. She kept asking them, please just pray with me. And all of a sudden, the first responder said this man walked up who was dressed as clergy. And he walked up, and because he was dressed as clergy, they allowed him to put his hands on the other part of the car that they weren't working on. And he put his hands on the car and he said, I am here to pray with you. And they prayed together. This woman could speak and she was praying aloud with him. Now, the interesting thing is that once they got her out, once they cut it open and they were able to extricate her out, onto the gurney, she asked to meet the man that was praying with her. She asked that he come and hold her hand and pray as she was being loaded into the ambulance. And at that point, all of the first responders looked around and this person was gone. And because this woman was, frankly, quasi-hysterical, they thought, we'll just find him. They sent someone to find him. And the onlookers never saw a man with his hands on the car praying. The EMTs, the firemen did. They said, I saw this man with my own eyes. He was real. He walked over and put his hands on the opposite car and prayed. And I heard his voice. Yet people that were right there, standing there, watching the entire thing, never saw this man. This is another case of an angel coming down, becoming into human form, helping, and then disappearing. And I think this is very common. Very, very common that they become human for some small period of time and then they disappear. There's another experience I want to share with you that is not one of my own, and that is this woman had a near-death experience. So as she was there in the auto accident, she came out of her body, as many do when you have a near-death experience. You float above your body, but yet you can see everything that's happening down below. And when she did, she saw one guy rush by. She saw another person rush by. They're just walking. They're commuters or people that are walking along the sidewalk. But one person stopped and prayed deeply, just took 30 seconds and deeply prayed for whoever was in that car. And this woman that had a near-death experience, who was for all purposes dead, felt that energy. She felt that person's prayer as her soul was floating above the car. And she says that it felt like love. It felt like this energy of love rushed into her body. And she says, it wasn't the reason I came back down into my body. It's not the reason that I lived, but I'll never forget feeling it. I'll never forget the impact it had on my energetic body, on my soul. That prayer made a believer out of me in prayer, because I know I felt it. So again, I'm not a religious person. I don't agree with the religious doctrine or dogma that has come out of organized religion. But I can't not believe in angels. I can't not believe that there's a higher source, a higher energy, God, whatever that is for you. And maybe angels could be called something else. I don't know. In our lexicon, it's angels. Now, angels can also help you without manifesting in your physical environs, your physical energy or physical space. I know all of us, they're telling me to use the word all of us have had an experience where we don't know how, we don't know why, but something saved us from something else. Perhaps it was a car accident. Perhaps it was saving you from a fall. Perhaps it was saving you from an illness. I have another experience where a very, very dear friend of mine was incredibly sick, and he was in the hospital, and we were having a hard time getting the hospital or they just couldn't diagnose him. They couldn't understand why he was in so much pain. They couldn't understand why he was so sick, but he was in incredible pain. And just about the time that I thought he may not make it, right? I was standing in the hallway outside of his room. And I was really starting to come to terms with the fact that he may not make it. I saw, now when I say I saw, it's not with my eyes, it's with my knowing, my third eye, my clairvoyance, my psychic seeing. I saw the biggest angel I've ever seen in my life go into his room, to the degree that I was speaking to his parents and my head ripped around the direction of his room. And I stopped talking and they said, "What's the matter? What happened?" Because there was no one in that hallway. No one, no nurses, no one. But this angel was so big that it went all the way to the top of the ceiling of the hospital. And it went into his room. And it looked like a big, tall, angelic person. Huge. And it went into his room. And I'm telling you, I left his parents and followed it into that room because I knew I saw something, but I didn't know what it really was. This was before I was really using my abilities. So I went into his room and there was nothing there. I couldn't see anything. I didn't know of anything that was there. But I will tell you that 1 hour later, we got the right diagnosis. He got the right procedure. He got the right doctors. Everything turned around. Now, I know you have experiences like this. I have an experience where right after my father passed away, I was driving back from going to the funeral, and it was many states away. So I was driving on the interstate, and this guy came up behind us, easily doing way over 100 miles an hour. I mean, way over 100 miles an hour. And I thought, we're dead. There's nowhere for me to go. There was cars on either side of us, and I really thought it was all happened so quickly. And then somehow the guy was next to me. And I remember looking out the window at him and him looking at me as if frozen in time. We were frozen in time, looking at each other, terrified. And then he went by. And I had people in my car with me that saw all of that, that experienced that with me. I know this has happened to you as well. You know, we all have experiences like this, right? We all have experiences like this. And I think the message, and instead of going on with the experiences that I've had, they want me to talk about my brother. My brother died way younger than he should have. He died of a broken heart, basically. He died in his late 40s. And I loved my brother. We were very close, even though he was a typical older brother, and he gave me a lot of grief, and he teased me, and he just, harassed me. But despite that, we were very close. And I would say to you that my brother was one of those people that got away with everything, right? I mean, he was the golden boy. He was handsome. He just got away with things no one else could get away with, right? So I wouldn't say he was a perfect person on this earth. I wouldn't say that he was, he wasn't perfect. I'll just leave it there. But do you know that when that guy passed, when he crossed over, he became an angel? And I'm telling you, because I saw it. He appeared to me. I'm a medium. I can see dead people. He appeared to me. And again, he was quite tall. He was about, 8 foot tall. And he had these huge wings. And I was like, there is no way you're an angel. I mean, you're totally pulling my leg. You're just pulling my leg. I mean, you're just trying to be funny. That dude was not pulling my leg. That guy got angel wings. I don't know how to this day. I swear to God, I don't know how to this day. He just did. He really did. And so that begs the question, right? Like, how do you become a human? How you start this life as a human and then become an angel? Well, it goes back to why we're here on these incarnations. Why are we here on these incarnations? Right? Who are we really? Are we just experiencing physical human form for our soul to learn some lesson? Are we experiencing human physical form to teach someone a lesson? And who are we to judge? Who are we to really judge? After the soul has completed its mission and crossed over, who are we to judge what they are at that point? Right? I mean, look, we have laws, we have, we have good and evil here on this earth. And while you're here, I can judge you. If you commit a crime, yes, absolutely. If you are unkind or mean or, whatever those things are, yeah, I'm probably going to judge you. I'm probably going to think some kind of way about you. But once you cross over and you go into your soul energy, your pure soul energy, without the baggage of being a human, without the baggage of being a human on earth, it's quite possible that just like my brother, you could be a whole different type of energy that might be very different than how you manifested in your physical form while you were here. And my brother saved my life. He no doubt saved my life. Now, I saw my brother as an angel about 6 months after he crossed over, but about 5 years after he crossed over, I was on a 2-lane road in the mountains. And luckily, I was on the side of the road that hugged the mountain. And of course, when you're in the mountains, you're going to be going hairpin turns, right? It's not a straight shot. It's you're going around the mountain. And my brother came through because he had a very distinctive voice. And he said, "Watch out." It's the only time my brother's come through since he's crossed over. I distinctly heard that. I looked around. There was nothing, nobody on the road, nothing. It was broad daylight, good weather. So I thought, okay, that's pretty significant. So I slowed down. Now I was already, I promise you, going under the speed limit because I'm not an experienced mountain driver and I don't like that kind of thing. I slowed down even more and I started to really pay attention. I would say 5 minutes, maybe more later, enough that you could forget, that you could think, well, there's no imminent danger. I'm going to just go on about my way. I imagined it or whatever. Here comes a semi truck on the opposite lane, the side where the drop off is. And how interesting, I had been driving this mountain road for 2 weeks as I was on vacation. I had never seen a semi truck ever. Frankly, I never saw any cars. So here comes a semi truck, I'm like, okay. Behind that semi truck was another semi truck riding its tail. Again, very unusual. And then all of a sudden, a car comes out from behind the second semi truck and is now in my lane coming at me and accelerating because they wanted to pass those slow moving semi trucks. Except for now that it's coming head on to me. I swerve. They swerve. They matched my tactic. They went the same direction I did. I swerved back into my lane. They swerved back into my lane. I'm thinking, they're so close to me. There's not much else to do. At the last minute, they swerved again. And luckily, is it luck? There, at that particular part of that particular road, there was a pull-off, an emergency pull-off. And this car passed me. So my truck's on this side. I'm in my lane. She passed me on the emergency pull-off. She never hit the brakes. And as I saw her, because I saw her, her hands were off the steering wheel, like this. I don't know if her brakes had gone, if she had no brakes. I remember her hair. I remember the look on her face. And I'm telling you, my brother, who's now an angel, saved my life. And I'm sure you have similar stories. So you can, the takeaway here is that you can pray for people when you hear a siren. You can take a moment and pray for them, and they're going to get that message. They're going to get that energetic jolt of love and compassion. You can also ask for help. You can ask for your angels to help you, to fly with you as you drive. And you can also send those angels your gratitude. You can be in gratitude. Acknowledge that you have angelic help around you all the time. Send love to them and acknowledge their help. And the last thing is, I believe the reason that these things happened to me in this pattern, in this short period of time, was so that I would share them with you. But I also believe that as we go into this next year of 2023, and frankly, always, this is always needed, right? But even more so now, compassion. I'll never forget the line of cars that passed that woman up with those two little girls. One after another drove past her. We don't have to let this energy of ill will towards our fellow human beings infect us too. We don't have to allow that to make us less generous or less giving. The opposite is true. We're being asked right now, in this face of a real drought of compassion among humanity, to be the ones that lead the way with compassion. And not to be looking for other people to do it, and not be looking for, any compensation, of course, but just doing it because you do it because, well, you would want someone to do it for you. It's the right thing to do. And that's the message that they want you to hear in this Way Out Wednesday, is spread compassion. Be compassion. Try to be compassionate even when you feel that the people that you're compassionate to don't deserve it. Meaning these people that have fallen for the cult of the Trump. When many years ago, before Trump was elected, and when I became on the spiritual path, my guides said, you will be needed. There will be a situation where people will be waking up as if from a bad dream, and some of these people will have lost everything. Some of these people will have lost their clout, their profession, the respect of their family members, the respect of their community. They may have lost their health. And these people are going to be looking for compassion. And we're asking you to help people be compassionate towards them. Now, when they gave me this message, Trump was not president. I didn't understand the message. I've never forgotten the message, but I've never understood it until now. I get it now. As these people are arrested and their crimes are known, and we're able to take these bandages off of our eyes and see the real reality, your local friends and family are going to start waking up to how horrible, to the nonsensical things that have happened that they've supported. You know, tracking girls' menstrual periods in Florida. I mean, some of these things are just mind-boggling. And yet some of these people support these things. And as we go into this year and next year, these people are going to come to their senses. Now, not all of them, but enough. And they're going to feel really shell-shocked is the word, shell-shocked, that they could have fallen for this ruse. They're going to be embarrassed. And they're going to need a little bit of compassion. And the guides have talked to you about this before. Where they said, we're asking you not to point your finger at them and said, you should have known better. You're responsible for these deaths. You're responsible for this. It's not an opportunity to hold them accountable as judge, jury, and executioner. If they're contrite, they know what they've done. Now it's time to offer compassion. So that's their message. That's their message on this Way Out Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining me. Take really good care of yourself, and we'll see you again on the next Way Out Wednesday. I don't know what this